this Monday, new technology is coming to catch drivers on their phones. How it would track what people are doing in their cars. And talk of a possible recession is bringing back memories for those hit by the last financial crisis. But there may be a bigger concern, what one job expert says needs to change in our workforce. And the new iPhone 11 is out, and buying a new device may not necessarily mean a higher phone bill. We'll show you the ways to save if you're eyeing a new phone.
And we continue to follow breaking news here on the Now Indy on RTV6. The eastbound lanes of I-465 are shut down at State Road 37 on Harding Street on the south side because of a crash. No one is getting through. Multiple ambulances are on the scene along with police and firefighters, as you can see right there. We are now being told one person has been taken to the hospital. Again, this is eastbound I-465 at State Road 37 on the south side. You will want to find another way to get around this area. And a warning tonight, if you want to be able to fly somewhere, the state is urging you to get a new kind of ID that will soon be required to board a plane. Today, TSA and the BMV came together at Indianapolis International Airport to educate people on what's called the Real ID. Starting on October 1st, 2020, you must have an upgraded Real ID driver's license or ID card, or you will not be allowed to board commercial planes or enter certain federal buildings. Check your driver's license because you may already have a Real ID. If your license has a star in the upper right-hand corner, then you have a Real ID. Today we spoke with the BMV to find out what you need to know.
You're not required. I think that's first and foremost really important to let folks know it's not a requirement in the state of Indiana. Other states have chosen to require it. We do not. But I think it's also important for folks to know that there is going to be restricted access to certain things if you don't have that. The most common one, the reason why we're in this building, is obviously flying. So October 1st of 2020, if you don't have that Real ID, you're not going to be able to board a aircraft.
Again, check your driver's license. If you have a star in the upper right-hand corner, then you already have a Real ID. If you don't, you'll need to get one at your local BMV branch.
I like the shimmer on White River there. You can see how that's kind of shifted just to the left of the walking bridge. It takes you over to the Indianapolis Zoo. Quiet parking lot today, and on the right-hand side is the Dolphin Pavilion. Hopefully you've had a good first few hours of fall. We had the rain last night, some before midnight, some after. In total, 39/100ths of an inch for Indianapolis. The orange represents the warmer temperatures. That's being pushed out of the state for now. Entering cooler, more comfortable conditions. 72 in Crawfordsville, 5 degrees warmer in Terre Haute. Indianapolis right now at a comfortable 76 degrees. The wind will be out of the northwest through the night, then tomorrow start to change direction, come out of the southwest as you go through the evening hours. Temperature down to 61 by 11 o'clock tonight. Should be a good looking sunset, and during the morning hours tomorrow. Mid-50s, that's where we'll start. Mid-morning, 65 at 10, and then as we get to the early afternoon hours, already lower 70s at noon, 78 your afternoon high tomorrow.
More cases of the EEE virus are popping up around the country. EEE, or Eastern Equine Encephalitis, is carried by mosquitoes that bite birds. Human cases aren't new, but they are happening more frequently now. And with the most recent case being in Connecticut, one person has died there. And just a few days ago, another person died in Massachusetts. But a man in Michigan has been dealing with the virus since 2017. His fiance says he's been experiencing seizures and memory loss.
He couldn't pick up the pen and tell me what the name of it. Silverware. He didn't know the spoon, the fork. He couldn't tell you the name of it.
A microbiology expert at Michigan State University tells us this is a neurological disease, which may explain why this patient is having trouble with speech and memory. Other symptoms include severe headaches, slipping into a coma, and swelling of the brain. And while the virus may not be new, researchers haven't been able to establish any patterns that would indicate what type of season we'll have.
There's no definitive research yet that shows relationships like that. I would honestly say we need that kind of research, and if the opportunity were to arise, it would be very useful and helpful.
Like the name of the virus indicates, EEE tends to be more common in the East Coast. All right, let's start the Now News feed. President Trump is pushing for global support to protect religious people from persecution. He announced at the UN General Assembly that the U.S. is dedicating an additional $25 million toward religious freedom. But it's not clear how that money will be used. And new details into a conversation between President Trump and Ukraine's leader. President Trump saying he did bring up Joe Biden and his son in a phone call. The president says it surrounded a conversation about corruption. He stressed that they don't want American leaders adding to any corruption in the Ukraine. Well, it turns out not all screen time is bad for kids. A study posted in the Journal of the American Medical Association says the only negative screen times are watching TV and video games. The impacts were tied to how kids do in school. Doctors say no kids under the age of 18 months should be exposed to screens. Well, back to our lineup. Distracted driving has gotten so bad, and in one place is rolling out cameras to catch drivers on their phones. Now, we're not doing anything that extreme in the U.S. just yet, but we are looking into what is working to keep all of us safe on the road.
We're following breaking news. We first brought you on the news at 5. We are now learning the eastbound lanes of I-465 will be shut down at State Road 37 until at least 6:30 after a major crash. As you can see, traffic is not moving at all. Indiana State Police say a pickup truck and several cars were involved in the wreck. State Police say medics have taken one person to the hospital. Again, this is eastbound I-465 at State Road 37 on the south side. Traffic is being diverted off 465 at Kentucky Avenue. Avoid this area if you can.
A state in Australia is using a new tactic to stop people from driving distracted. Now, the government is planning on rolling out cameras that detect if a driver has a phone in their hand. It uses artificial intelligence to find out what drivers are doing with their hands and excludes drivers who are not touching their phones. But people who are caught driving distracted will receive a $230 fine. Now, here in the U.S., it's been a little difficult to regulate this, partly because different states have different laws and enforcement efforts. Road safety advocates say one thing everyone should focus on is making driver assist systems more accessible and available to all drivers.
But those have been shown to be effective to reduce crashes, including when people are distracted. If someone is driving distracted and doesn't brake, the car would take over and brake, or at least mitigate the intensity of the crash.
Advocates for highway and auto safety say even hands-free devices create a distraction for drivers. The CDC estimates that 9 people are killed every day due to distracted driving. 1,000 people are hurt every day in crashes. Again, turning to the Now News feed, eating nuts could help battle obesity. A new study says just a half a serving of nuts a day can lead to less weight gain. Researchers cite the high amounts of unsaturated fats and vitamins help. Well, if you have a cat and you think it doesn't like you, think again. A new study says cats form relationships to their owners just like a dog. Specifically, cats look to you for a sense of security as well as for comfort. Well, your food deliveries could soon come via driverless cars. Yes, the delivery service Postmates is teaming up with a company that operates autonomous cars. Now, the two will run a pilot program in LA and then they'll expand it to San Francisco, but there's no word yet on when a nationwide rollout could be possible. And still ahead in our lineup, talk of a possible recession is bringing back memories for those hit by the last financial crisis. Ahead, what one job expert says needs to change in our workforce.
RTV6 is working for you.
Technology like Siri, Amazon's Alexa, and Google smart homes are becoming a big part of our lives. But Corey Rangel found out how it's now helping older people stay independent longer.
Laverne Renz lives alone in her home near Pittsburgh. At 85 years old, Laverne is not as independent as she used to be, but she has plenty of energy.
I have to listen to her, because she'll beat me up.
Laverne and her caretaker, Rose Schenkel, have a playful relationship.
What in particular makes Rose the best?
Oh, I don't know. Look at her. She'll do anything I ask her.
But Rose is not always around, so she has a backup.
Alexa, call Susie for me.
Call in Susie Macrino's Alexa devices.
Laverne uses Amazon's Alexa to make phone calls.
Could you play some music for me?
To hear her favorite song.
Too much, baby.
Alexa is even set up to give Laverne important reminders.
She reminds me when to take my medicine, when to eat my lunch. She reminds me of everything. She won't leave me alone. No, she's okay.
It's companionship for her. Artificial, but it's companionship.
Rose says when she's not there to keep Laverne company, Alexa can step in.
She spends a lot of time alone. So I think when Alexa comes on, that perks her up. Even if she wants to shut it up, it perks her up.
But the technology can be more than just a voice to talk to. It's also set up to be a lifesaver. Visiting Angels, a senior home care agency, installs devices throughout the home, programmed to provide emergency help.
If they fall at any time of the night, they can get help. And that's key, just with their voice.
At least I know if I need help, she hears me.
A listening ear.
Alexa.
And helping voice, making life easier for seniors like Laverne.
Thank you.
I'm Corey Rangel.
Corey, thank you. Well, one of the best parts of recording a show on TV is that you just get to skip through all the commercials. But that could be coming to an end. TiVo says it will now have pre-roll ads play before you can watch a show or movie you've recorded. And if you have TiVo, well, you can expect to see the change in the next 3 months.
Phone scams are turning into big business for thieves, taking millions of dollars each month from unsuspecting people. And it's not just grandparents who fall for them. Working for You, John Mattery spoke with a suburban mom who just became a victim. And the warning for you, so you don't waste your money.
It's called the Social Security scam, and like the IRS scam a year ago, it's become an epidemic with millions of cell phones targeted. Think you couldn't fall for it? Well, one woman who just lost 20 grand says, think again. It was late one morning when Ann's cell phone rang.
Somebody called me.
And a voice like this one turned her world upside down.
Your Social Security number has been suspended for suspicion of illegal activity.
Ann is a mother of 3 who agreed to an interview only if we changed her name.
He said I had 25 bank accounts, I had illegal drug activity, I'm warrant out for my arrest for money laundering.
The agent told her to follow his instructions or she was going to jail.
I needed to prove that I only have 2 bank accounts, not 25.
The caller told her to empty her account and forward the money to the government for temporary safekeeping. How believable was this guy?
That was very believable. I emptied $20,000 out of my bank account.
The caller was so threatening, she ignored her own daughter.
And my 13-year-old, she was like, Mom, that's a lot of money. Why are you taking all that money out?
The caller then wanted her to transfer the money via gift cards in what's become a classic scam. Now, these scammers were very sophisticated and knew exactly what they were doing. Rather than have Ann go to one store and purchase over 10 grand in gift cards, they had her go to multiple Targets and make multiple purchases.
And they hardly asked me any questions.
After 20 grand of gift card purchases, the agent asked for the numbers.
He had me read every single number.
With the caller finally off the phone, Ann realized she had been scammed. Tracy Lynch of the U.S. Inspector General's office says agencies are receiving thousands of complaints about these calls. Do you know where these calls are originating from?
Yes, a lot of them, many of them, India. We are making some efforts, but it's a very difficult scam.
She says you must know Social Security, the IRS, and FBI will never call to say a warrant is out for your arrest. And now wants others to see how easy it is to fall for this.
I was really in a different, I wasn't myself.
Target tells us it has signs warning customers of scams and trains its employees to watch for this. But apparently none of that worked this time. As always, don't waste your money. I'm John Mattery for RTV6.
And it is 5:48 on a beautiful Monday. First hours of fall. It was actually after 3 a.m. when fall officially arrived. You notice the canopy of green. That will all be changing here in the next few weeks. This morning when I left the house to come to work, there was a standoff in the hallway. Rory Gregory versus the vacuum cleaner. We'll see if that's still ongoing when I get home tonight. We'll keep you posted. Temperatures across central Indiana today cooler by about 10 degrees than yesterday. Obviously no clouds, no rain. Our next opportunity for any showers showers will come Wednesday. Not a great chance, but it's a chance. Only on 2 occasions have we had measurable rainfall this month. We'll have low chances of rain as we get later in the week into the weekend. That's a sign that the warmer air will be returning. 76 in Indy as you shop around. Temperatures there mid-70s, generally speaking, about average for this time of year. And we've changed the wind direction. A change in wind direction brought about the temperature change and lowered the humidity. That will continue to fall tonight, and dry air will allow temperatures by the time we get to late evening before midnight to drop into the upper 50s in some spots. Sunset this evening at 7:41. Tomorrow, temperatures make their move from 55 in the morning, low 70s at noon, and afternoon reading of right around upper 70s to maybe 80 in a couple of spots. We'll talk about what does change over the next 4 days coming up.
Almost 3/4 of economists think there will be a recession by the end of 2021. This is according to a new poll. But one man who's been helping people find work for nearly 40 years thinks we have a bigger issue to worry about. Chris Stewart explains.
The main operation basically is employment and training.
Jim Perry's been helping people in Michigan fine-tune their skills and find work for almost 40 years.
We helped many of the people that lost their jobs due to plant closings go back to work.
He's the executive director for the Downriver Community Conference, but he's been doing public service with the organization since 1981.
The loss of a job and a stable income is a disruptive influence in people's lives. They have house payments, car payments. They may have children going to school.
You can say
right here we have veterans programs.
He's passionate.
The art program.
Perry's team helps people who are laid off or lose their job to a closure
and assist them with their resumes and job skills that they may have not looked for a job for many years.
Perry remembers the recession that crippled Americans a decade ago.
I don't think we have anything near what we had in 2008.
He's not alone. The Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell, agrees. He thinks the economy is on solid ground.
So we're not forecasting or expecting a recession. The consumer's in good shape. Our main expectation is not at all that there'll be a recession.
If you ask Jim, there's a bigger issue at play.
I've been preaching it for 30 years. Hopefully someone will listen.
And that's the aging skilled workforce.
It's kind of like having a basketball team. You can have your veteran players, but you better have some young players coming up if you want your team to be good.
He thinks schools can help by exposing students to skilled trades.
It's electrical, robotics technicians, welders, pipe fitters, carpenters. Having a skilled trade is a skill that it takes 4 years to get. So it's just like having a college degree, except right out of the gates, you're going to make a certain amount of money.
Even with a strong economy, Perry says there will always be temporary layoffs, and his team will always be there to help.
We're hoping that they go back to work soon. It's just it's a temporary setback, as I say. It's like losing a game, but you can come back and have another shot at it because you're gonna play it again.
Thanks, Chris. Well, checking in on the Now News feed, could Russia be banned from the 2020 Olympics? That's the concern for the country as the World Anti-Doping Agency looks into possible tampering with test results. Investigators say the data had to do with files surrounding the 2014 Olympics. Well, Google is making changes to protect your privacy. This comes after a report surfaced saying the company was recording the audio from some of its users. But Google was reportedly using those recordings to make improvements with its translating service. And if you're a fan of beef, this could be good news for you. However, those in the beef industry may not agree. Beef prices are dropping as the demand for the meat dropped more than expected. This comes as cattle farmers are dealing with a surplus in supply. Well, we've told you about the different ways lenders figure out your loan terms or whether they even issue you a loan. But there's another database out there that not that many people know about. It's called LexisNexis. The company sells about 150 different reports on consumers. It's information that actually can affect your finances. But your LexisNexis report can get tricky. And maybe not so accurate either. From our searches, we've found that people's information sometimes gets merged with other people's information if they share the same name, or it could get merged with another family member's information. And that can affect you when it's time to apply for a loan, especially when that other person has some negative marks on their report. But the good news is you can fix it. You will need to go to personalreports.lexisnexis.com, and then you click on Access Your Personal Information and then Full File Disclosure Form. You will need to fill this out and either mail or email it. But you will receive a report. Now, you may not get the full version that businesses receive, but you may still be able to spot some errors. And if you've already been denied credit, well, then you can ask LexisNexis to provide that specific report that the business used. And after that, you can ask LexisNexis to correct the errors, and you can call the company or mail them. But be prepared to explain why this information is wrong. Finally, in our lineup, the new iPhone 11 is out, and buying a new device may not necessarily mean a higher phone bill. We'll show you the ways to save if you're eyeing a new phone.